Now the media outreach essentials, okay, yeah, so this is what I consider to be like the key critical 3 to 4 essentials that we need to, make sure we have before we even think about engaging them. If we don't, then I recommend don't start the process yet. Okay, and it's about these 3 things. The essentials is how to get their attention. You gotta be able to speak their language. Not from a language perspective, but you got to speak it in a way that they can understand, efficiently understand, and then also make it easy for them. And so, getting their attention, it usually takes the perfect pitch email, okay? And the perfect pitch email, from our experience, whether it be through Spark Amplify, through our agency, we view it, there's 5 key components. Okay, and these 5 key components involves, first, building connection, right? Keep in mind, you and this person is you guys are 2 strangers, right? So if they're going to give you any time of day to read your stuff, you got to somehow exhibit or demonstrate there is some sort of connection between you 2. So whether it be you've done some study on them, and there's a particular article that you really potentially believe in or would like to share some thoughts on. At least letting them know that, hey, there's some stuff that I actually, there's some commonalities between me and you. Building that connection, whether it be virtually or physically. And then, demonstrate that social proof. Like I said, maybe there's some awards that you recently won and, some market traction that you recently built up, right? Show that. List that out, right? Because they don't want to be the guinea pig. Yeah, they don't want to be writing a product that potentially will evaporate 6 months from now, right? They want to write something that is going to be the next Google, the next Facebook, right? And like I said, what's in it for them, right? Yeah, you got to put yourself in their shoes and also think about what can you offer them so that they would feel like this is an opportunity that they should miss out, right? Whether it be a discount or an opportunity for their readers, or it could be an exclusive story, like I mentioned. Clear call to action. A lot of times I see a lot of good pitch emails, but I don't know what's your call to action. I don't know what you want me to do, right? Yeah, you listed out all these things, but you don't have a clear call to action for me to act on. And that's problematic, right? And this call to action, usually, it could be, a request for a potential interview, an article placement. But I just want to remind everyone, right? It doesn't always have to be an article placement. Sometimes a social media mention, a retweet, or a Twitter, post is just as good. And that barrier to entry is lower for them because at least they don't need to spend a lot of time writing that article, right? But at least they could maybe, because they believe in your story, they could just very quickly retweet your, post or whatever, right? So that could be easily enough, to be done. So don't always set your sight on writing an article. Of course, that is sort of like the ultimate goal, right? Sort of the pot of rainbow at the end of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But that may be also a stepping stone. Maybe instead of having them commit that writing, maybe start them out with maybe asking them for a feedback. Hey, can you give me some feedback on my product? And once they engage in that discussion, then they have a stake in it. And then once they have a stake in it, then potentially you're building that relationship for potential next requests. And lastly, a lot of times they would like to have more information about you, and they would like to potentially even arrange, interviews and things of that nature. So definitely don't forget your contact information as well. And so when I say speaking their language, it's not it's not language per se in terms of English, Chinese, no. That's not what I mean. When I say speaking the language, it's about putting in a format that they can quickly grasp and also identify and see if this is something media worthy for them to actually write about, right? So this is a template that, it's just a typical PR release, press release, and it also consists of 5 components. Yeah, you'll notice that in my logic, it's always either 3 or 5. That's my logic. But so the 5 key components are, first, make your headline irresistible, right? Same thing, when you look at anything, you're always looking at the headline, right, to decide if you want to continue on reading, right? So if your headline's not interesting, then there's a good chance they're not going to continue on reading it. So make it interesting. Then also you got to let them know what's the news value to this. Is it because you're attending an event? Is it because you're doing something that currently that's specifically targeted for that time period? And also offer a quote, right? Because quote makes it personalized, right? Instead of just coming, cookie cutter from a DM or website, it has, you're bringing life to it, right? So the owner, the founder, the CTO, the chief engineer said something like this, making their article potentially more lifelike or human-like. Provide valuable background information on the subject, right? The reason for this is they want to know about the background and why is it that you guys can succeed when other people have failed. Maybe your team, maybe the specific, let's say, proprietary, patent or technology that you currently have. And summarize who and what in a boilerplate. Boilerplate is usually, sort of the contact information section where you list out how you can reach me and even, some information like where you can download my press kit, things of that nature, right? So that's just a boilerplate that it always goes on the bottom. What other people? So, third, making it easy for them, right? So like I said, they're very busy, they're always running on deadlines, so if you can make their life simpler, that's one less thing that they need to worry about, and they know that, hey, maybe this article is easier for me to tackle than the other one that I probably potentially need to spend like 3 hours on researching, and when they're running on a deadline, they're probably going to choose one between the other, and they're probably going to choose the one that's easier than the harder one. So making it easy for them, meaning that, hey, prepare all the stuff that they need. The product introduction, the product brief, having pictures, images, logos of different sizes, in different, let's say, high resolution, low resolution, videos of interviews, okay, and also past press coverages, awards, milestones. Basically, when they have this, they can say, hey, you know what, that's all I need. I don't even need to call you anymore. I can just use this to write a story. And that's how it makes it easy for them, right? Because if they need to call you, that's just going to be another time that needs to be set up. And when they have a deadline to write, they're probably not going to have that time. But if they have this information on their hand, they're probably going to be able to write it very quickly. And so let's begin, right? So rules of engagement. When I talk about this, I always think about, or I always put it in the perspective of, put yourself in their shoes, right? When you guys don't like people sending you emails or work-related emails on weekends, right? So when you're sending emails to them, don't send it on weekends as well. Send it on weekdays. And I don't know about you, but I usually are the clearest in the morning. So I like to, go see my emails or read my emails in the morning. And don't send on consecutive days, meaning that you're blasting them consecutively. And also respect the unsubscribe request. Some people just say, hey, don't leave me alone, don't bother me. You gotta respect that. And attach nothing, because sometimes, you don't know about their mail server. Maybe they have some limits on the size of the emails and all that stuff. So if you attach like a big video, you're basically jamming them with something that they don't even want, right? And don't call. Even though I know, so for example, we have a lot of Taiwan media in our database as well. Taiwan media, they like to call sometimes, but I know in the U.S. and the States, usually they don't like to call. Even people, for example, people like to send calls to voicemails first, right? So don't call unless you really know them. And key to success, if anyone tells you that they know a solution or a golden formula, they're probably lying to you, because it really involves testing. And testing, meaning that you got to test a lot of things, including, let's say, subject lines, right? There's different types of subject lines. Subject lines that's more about trending topics, let's say. More about your product specification, let's say a specific promotion. There's different subject lines that you can sort of craft out before you start sending it, and then maybe have 2 or 3 in line. So just in case, and you can maybe go through that process, the testing process. Call to action, maybe, hey, writing an article is a bit too tough. Maybe I should try getting feedback first. Content layout, maybe I'm writing too much. People are not reading this thing because now everyone's getting their emails on their mobile phones now. So maybe I should shorten it up. Send of day, maybe the person is not like Chen. He doesn't like to receive emails, in the morning. So maybe try in the afternoon. And variations of personalization, right? Some people, they could probably pick out a general email from afar away, right? So you may want to spend some time to personalize that specific email for them. And so when you're doing this outreach, so we talked about there's that research component, right? So you've identified the people that is relevant for you. You prepared all the collaterals that you need in terms of the pitch email, in terms of the press kit, in terms of the press release. And you actually gone through the process of sending it out, right? Now, here's the result, right? There's going to be 3 results that you potentially will get. Result number 1, no result, no response. What happens? And most of the time, it's going to be this. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Most of the time, it's going to be this. And it doesn't mean that you have no chance. It just means that you need to spend a little bit more time. And that's why PR agencies are so expensive, right? If you guys are not going to do it, then if you're going to have someone else to do it, they're going to be doing this. And so that's why you're using up their time. And so that's why they're so expensive. And so what do you need to do? Test and more tests. Okay, I've said it second time already, and I'm probably going to say it again at the end. So I'm just going to remind you. Okay, but test and more tests. And once again, dive in on the research. Do some analysis on similar products. That's a good start, right? Maybe it's a bad timing. Like for example, like right now, very soon it will be a bad timing because Christmas is coming up, New Year's coming up, and I mean, just think about it, right? People are on vacation, so they're not going to be receiving emails. So most likely, the pitches that you send out is probably just going to go down to their inbox and into Neverland. So bad timing may be bad. Law of averages. I mean, like I said, most of the time it's going to be this. And so ultimately, you need to play the number game, right? Yeah, you got to be able to ante up, and you got to stand out a little bit more. Usually, it's about 5% is a good percentage, to be honest. So what does that mean? That means that you got to send out 100 emails to even potentially have an opportunity to maybe get 5 or 10 placements. It sounds depressing, but seriously, that's just the truth. And that's why I said, and that's why it costs so much when you're hiring a PR agency. And also, revise your product messages if it needs to. Don't just. I know, sometimes as founders, so I'm a founder too as well. We have our own, stake on why we're doing this, but also at the same time, I mean, sometimes we can fiddle on the messaging to make it more attractive on the other end. Result number 2. So number 1 is there's no response. Number 2 is, woohoo, yay. So they say, hey, can we do a call? Because I want to interview you, right? So here's your opportunity to shine, right? But also at the same time, be prepared, but also at the same time, be careful. Because when you're on an interview, sometimes you don't get the second chance to revise what you want to say. And there might be stuff that you don't want to share it at that moment. So there's a lot of things, right? So first, when you're in that interview, you gotta have the elevator pitch, right? Because you're still trying to convince them why this is a story that they don't want to miss out. And so have that elevator pitch. Have your press kit ready so that if they say, okay, I love this thing, give me your press kit link, send it to them. Identify an angle that will interest your audience, that's said before. And this is sort of going back to what I was saying, right? If you don't know it, get back to them, but you don't need to answer them on the spot. Because sometimes, you think when you're on the phone, you're put on the spot, right? So you got to answer them everything on the spot. But it doesn't always have to, because there may be some stuff that potentially you're not involved with. If they ask about some financials, you may need to ask your accountant, right? So you don't want to reveal that. So instead of just rambling on, and then they will respect you, So just tell them, hey, can I get back to you on this? Because I don't want to give you false information or whatever. And there's also, sort of the protected confidentiality. There's an off-the-record thing, right? Yeah, we all see these movies, right? But this really does work. So there's some stuff where you can share with them, sort of letting them know, hey, I value this relationship. Hey, I'll share with you, but this has to be off the record. This cannot be on placement, right? And then they will value that, because they think that, hey, you are willing to share this information with me and letting me know, and I'm willing to, sort of respect that, and then leave that off the placement or the article. But at least for them, they understand, there's that information that's being provided. And so the third result is you got placed. Awesome, right? Now, when you get placed, then it doesn't mean the job is over, right? Because like I said, this is a relationship building, right? So this is not a one-time process. It should be a process where you're utilizing this to build that relationship further on down the road, right? So send them an email. And, identify the article URL so that you can start building that social proof, right? Yeah, you can also share it with, let's say, your current users. Hey, we currently recently got placed in here. Share it on your social media. Build that social proof, meaning adding these logos on your website. Share story on your social media, and then continue the relationship. Right, that's very important. And so, key takeaways. It's a relationship building process, and what's in it for them. Put yourself in their shoes. Article placement is not the only goal. Okay. And testing and more testing. And lastly, don't give up, because a lot of times when people go through this process, they just send it out and they sort of sit back and says, hey, this is not working out. Okay, I just give up. Okay, let's spend some time on doing other things. But like I said, it's a process, so you got to continue at it and sustain the process. So that's my talk in terms of the influencer marketing and the outreach, and I'm going to let my colleague Candy share with you guys what Spark Amplify can do, and in fact, it actually solves a lot of the problems that I actually just listed, and she will demonstrate it. Thank you.